Back with us on the SportsMax Zone this week on SBF Friday Frenzy. It's a segment we debuted last week and will continue throughout the schoolboy football season. This week we take a look at the seeding system that will be used to determine the matchups for the second round of this year's DaCosta and ManningCup competitions. 16 teams will play in the ManningCup second round in home and away knockout ties. The 8 advancing teams will then be placed in groups of 4 for the quarterfinal stage. From there, the top 2 from each group will be in the semis. For the DaCosta Cup, there will be 32 teams in the second round. That number will be cut to 16 following home and away ties. Then the top 16 will be placed into 4 groups of 4, with the top 2 advancing to the quarterfinals, where they'll be placed into 2 groups of 4, and the top 2 from each reaching the semis marathon. Importantly, each team advancing to the last 16 of the ManningCup will be assigned a seeding number from 1 to 16 and 1 to 32 for the DaCosta Cup. The seedings will be determined by a combination of points based on performance in last year's competition plus performance in the group stages of this year's competition. The ISSA President Keith Wellington is here to explain the finer details. Before that, though, let's get an update on the status of the matches for this weekend, given that Jamaica has been placed under a severe weather alert coming from the Meteorological Service for this weekend. Let's go. Keith Wellington, the ISSA President, joins us on the phone. He is, of course, the principal of that great institution out in central Jamaica, St. Elizabeth Technical High School in Santa Cruz. Good afternoon, Principal. Welcome to the SportsMax Zone. Welcome again.
Hey, George. Good afternoon.
All right. So I spoke in headlines just now when talking about the seeding system for your rural area DaCosta Cup and your urban area ManningCup, about how the groups will be decided, how the top teams will be creamed off for the subsequent stages till we get to the semifinals and the finals. Is there anything else that the uninitiated should know about the seeding system first up?
All right, so just the discussion on the seeding system would focus on the fact that there are teams who start the season with seeding points based on their placings from last year's competition. And then in the rural area, well, in both competitions, you get seeded points for winning your group as opposed to coming second. And you also get a seeding point for every game that you win.
All right. So I've long wondered why it is that we didn't do that. So that, in other words, having a system, Mr. Wellington, Sir Keith rather, where teams power up and power down. So you're saying that carrying points from last year to this year's competition, the aim is to what? Avoid the bigger name teams, the better teams from meeting too early and ensuring that you keep them alive in the competition towards the business end and cream away some of the others? Is that why you went with the seeding system for both your prime competitions?
Yes. Certainly we wanted to ensure that we had it's schoolboys and therefore different teams will have different quality from year to year. So we can't necessarily predict that School A or School B will be the top seed next year without seeing how they perform from year to year. So what we decided was that traditionally we would just draw teams from geographical areas to play against each other or from specific groups to play against each other. What that meant is that if schools in a particular geographical area are all the strongest teams in a competition, then you'll have them knocking out each other early on. And a not so strong team, because they're on the other side of the draw, they end up in the latter stages and we don't have that competitive game at the very end that we hope for. So what we decided was that, one, your history will help to determine if you carry over any seeding point for the next year, because in the rural area, we also have seeded groups. So the groups that have been traditionally stronger over, let us say, the previous 5 years, they get an extra point if you win that group. So, for example, a Clarendon College group or a Garvin Master group, these are groups where the winners would have come from in recent years, and the teams who qualify get to the ladder stage. So you get 6 points for winning that group, as opposed to winning another group where the teams qualify because they are from the same geographical area and you must have teams from those areas. But as soon as they get out, they are eliminated. So you get less points for winning those groups. And that also helps to ensure that we don't have all the schools that qualify for the next round having the same number of seeding points.
Yeah.
And therefore, it makes making no difference.
We just showed the viewers the seeding points being taken into this new season by the DaCosta Cup teams. Of course, the defending champions, Garfield Massey, have 5 in their pockets. The Manning School have 4. CC Clarendon College have 3. Dintil 2. And from Christiana to William Knibb, a bunch of schools between those who each took a point into the new season. For the ManningCup, just to remind the viewers that for the ManningCup, KC, of course, as defending champions, they bring 5 ranking points into this new season. JC, the losing finalists, 4. Stats and Charlie Smith, the other 2 semi-finalists, 3 and 2 respectively. And from Excelsior down to St. Catherine High, 1 each. You know, Sir Keith, I can hear several schoolboy footballers of the distant past saying, boy, if this were only around in our time, when the West, when Rossies was strong, Herbert Morrison was strong, Clarendon College was strong, and then they didn't get separated because of a ranking system, and they played each other early, and we didn't get to see those good teams battling each other deep into the competition. You're saying that this system, this ranking system, aims to cure that?
Yes, and I think we have had it for. This will be the 3rd season I think we're having it, and it has worked well for us so far. And remember, ultimately the teams still have to win their games in the preliminary round to qualify to the 2nd round before ranking points are valid anything. So it is still, you still have the responsibility to come out this season and beat the teams in your zone and qualify for the interzone, for the playoffs before those points actually means anything.
Right, and Keith, what happens if teams are tied on ranking points? Is there a way to solve that?
Yes, if you're tied on ranking points, I think I don't remember the exact order, but I know the number of wins, your goals scored against, goal difference. Those 4 things are used to differentiate. So a chronological order that I don't remember quite how right now.
All right, that's fine. And just an update on the matches that are scheduled to be played this weekend. It's, raining heavily in Jamaica, and of course, there's a weather alert in effect.
Yeah, so we are playing our games today. As far as I've heard, all those games that were scheduled for today are on the way. So we'll get those games out today. We have been having discussions since morning with some of our stakeholders, including the Met Office, and what we did earlier today was to take a decision that if the games are going to be played tomorrow, they will be played at 1, because based on the worst case scenarios being presented, we may have that window to play those games without them being severely affected. We are going to be touching base within an hour with the Met Office to find out what the latest update is, and we'll make a final decision as to whether or not we go ahead with those games by 6 p.m. today.
Sir Keith, just stepping aside from the matter of the ranking and the seeding, we've settled that. You've explained it thoroughly. The issue of how the competitions are modeled in terms of the way that teams qualify for the Walker Cup and who can play in it, and the way that teams qualify for the Ben Francis Cup and those who can play in it. You can't have a DaCosta Cup, Ben Francis Cup dual winner again. Neither can you have a Manning Cup and a Walker Cup a winner. The same team winning both. Yeah. Here's why I brought it up. Remember when we had that lovely launch of the season at the National Stadium recently, the start of the schoolboy football season? I spoke to 3 coaches, 1 from the corporate area, 2 from the rural area, who were still disgruntled. It still rankled with them, principal, that the system was as it was. And I was trying my best to say, well, it gives more schools a chance, a genuine shot at winning something. But they are saying that it ought not to have been changed, and that they weren't perhaps best pleased that the voices of their respective principals were taken seriously enough when the decision was made to design the season the way that we are working with it now. Would you say that the changes that you've made are to the satisfaction of the overwhelming majority of your members, and that this is the way going forward? Is there any hope of revisiting to revert to what was the status quo for so many years? Does this work best, this system?
All right, so I beg to disagree with whomever those coaches were about us not listening to the principal as well. I don't know if...
Well, hold on. Before you go further, Sir Keith, you know very well how we are. If I talk to you about a problem and you don't do what I think the solution is, I will say you didn't listen to me. So that's just how it works, yeah? There you go.
Yeah. But just to say that we did have discussion with our colleague principals, who are the member who make up the membership of ISSA, and for the most part, well, not for the most part, generally the principals at the outset were agreeing with the changes, because remember now, we have each year roughly 120 plus schools that participate. I think over the last 40 years, I think we may have had a total of maybe 15 teams winning any schoolboy football title. So the majority of the schools would be happy for an opportunity to win something. But separate and apart from that as well, over the last 50 years, I don't know if we have had 5 schools winning all 3 titles in one season. So to say that we have taken away that opportunity for them, it is an opportunity that was more of a pipe dream than anything else. Yeah. And then if you add to the fact that over the last 10 years, we would have added another competition, which is the Champions Cup, to the schoolboy football profile, which meant that we are now providing the opportunity for a national knockout champions through the Champions Cup. So what we have done with the Ben Franciscan Walker Cup is to provide a sort of consolation prize for those schools who finish outside the top 4, but in all likelihood had real good quality teams. Yeah. And we also have to remember that from our end, we had that issue organizational in terms of how do we fit an extra competition into the same time period that we would normally run our competition. So I think what we came up with, in my opinion and in the opinion of the executive, was a win-win situation.
Yeah, well, Keith, we want to thank you so much for joining us on the SportsMax Zone and, of course, clearing up, information on the seeding, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon. Thanks for having me, and all the best over the weekend. Thank you, Keith Wellington. There is our president. Well, still to come on today's show, Miguel Reed, a.k.a. Grammar Zone, joins us on Celebrity Knock. But next, we continue with the SBF Friday Frenzy and a look ahead to Saturday's massive ManningCup encounter between North Street rivals Kingston College and St. George's College.